Good evening, Patriots, and welcome to another live broadcast of the Douglas Ducote Show. Yet many places you can be tonight. You chose to be here with me, and for that, I am forever grateful. Just a little bit of FYI before we get into tonight's show. As I was setting up tonight's live stream, and I use StreamYard, and then it goes out to the different locations from there, there was a notice that popped up letting everyone know that's using StreamYard tonight that they're having technical difficulties with live broadcast. So they said they're working on the issue. Whether or not that's going to interfere with tonight's show, I do not know. If it does, I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you. If that wasn't bad enough, there is a really bad storm moving into our area right now. So I hope that doesn't affect the internet. But anyhow, that's what's happening. And let's get right into tonight's show. And we're going to start off with something that's to me, at least, it's sick and it's alarming, to say the least. A few years ago, in 2020, you may recall that the diary of Joe Biden's daughter, Ashley Biden, was reported as stolen. Her diary. It was then sold to Project Veritas because it supposedly contained some damning information about her father, Joe Biden. This information was involving Joe's inappropriate conduct with her as an adolescent. The two people responsible for stealing and selling the diary were Amy Harris and Robert Kurtlander. Both were arrested, charged, and one got 2 months in jail, the other got 3 months in jail. Project Veritas then released the information in the diary, and the left-wing news media outlets went on full-blown damage control, saying that the things about Joe Biden were right-wing lies, conspiracy, they weren't true, just the right making stuff up. Well, you know who Snoops is? They're a left-leaning liberal fact-checking website. And they also had said that it was basically false information. Well, they have now reversed their fact check regarding the authenticity of what's in that diary and that it's actually real. And if it wasn't real, by the way, 2 people wouldn't have been arrested and charged and went to jail for this. And it was alleged claims that President Joe Biden had taken inappropriate showers with his daughter. In response to a question concerning whether the content of Ashley Biden's diary had been verified, the fact-checking website wrote on April 29th, 2024, Snoops changed the rating of this fact check from unproven to true, based on testimony provided directly from Ashley Biden herself. In an April 8th letter to New York judge requesting jail time for those of the 2 people convicted of stealing her diary, Ashley Biden wrote, "I will forever have to deal with the fact that my personal journal can be viewed online." And then, of course, out of curiosity, I Googled Ashley Biden's diary, and you can download it yourself if you would like to read it and learn all about why he was called Creepy Joe. Snoops explained that the fact check had previously stated there was strong evidence Biden's daughter's diary existed, but that the fact check had argued that no source had authenticated the contents of the pages published online. According to the Post Millennium, the fact-check website reversal comes shortly after Ashley Biden herself wrote a letter to Judge Laura Taylor Swan, confirming the authenticity of the diary and its contents. The letter was written by President's daughter during the sentencing of Amy Harris, who was one of the 2 individuals that were convicted of stealing the diary and selling it to Project Veritas. The Post Millennium reported that the theft of Ashley's diary resulted in controversy surrounding a quote in the diary that allegedly claimed that Joe Biden had taken inappropriate showers with her as she was growing up. In the letter to Swan during the sentencing process, Ashley Biden wrote, "I'm deeply saddened that I even have to write this letter because my personal private journal was stolen and sold for profit. Although this criminal act happened more than 3 years ago, because of the publicity it drew, exactly as Ms. Harris intended, I'm constantly re-traumatized by it," the president's daughter stated. "I will forever have to deal with the fact that my personal journal can be viewed online." So, for all of you that use the phrase Creepy Joe and are attacked by Democrats and liberals as peddling conspiracy theories, well, you are now vindicated based on Joe Biden's daughter's own words, and now Snoops.com. And I will leave it at that, and I won't go any further. It's all over the internet right now if you'd like to see it. It's sick, it's disgusting. We now know why Joe Biden likes to inappropriately hold, touch, caress, and say creepy things to children, even with the cameras rolling right there in the White House, even in front of parents that we've seen many times pull their child away from the president as he's doing creepy things. Well, now we know from his own daughter that he brought her in the shower with him, inappropriately did whatever. She hasn't elaborated on what he did, but I sure wish she would. Moving on. Trump's former lawyer, Michael Cohen, was once again grilled for lying under oath for his role in a Trump indictment during today's court appearance. Court concluded today with Michael Cohen, Donald Trump's former attorney, testifying for nearly 6 hours over a 2-day span of cross-examination by Trump lawyer Todd Blanche. Cohen answered numerous questions today related to his time working for Trump, including whether he had hoped to secure a role in the White House in the Trump administration, how Trump reacted to the initial story of his and Stormy Daniels' alleged sexual encounter, and whether he believed he played a role in Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg's indictment of Trump. Cohen said, "Yes, I took some credit for the 34-count indictment waged against Donald Trump, who he once admitted to referring to as Dumbass Donald." Cohen also said today that he's never met Alvin Bragg in person. During a May 2023 podcast, Cohen praised Bragg and the case brought against Trump, saying, "I want to thank the DA's office and fearless leader Alvin Bragg for countless hours of laying out payments and crimes. Trump having his picture taken and fingerprinted brings me nothing but delight." Blanche also focused greatly on Cohen's history of lying under oath, including to a federal judge. Dating back to 2017, Blanche highlighted several instances where Cohen lied under oath, including to Congress about Trump's Tower Moscow project and federal investigators from special counsel Robert Mueller's office. Blanche asked Cohen about the oath and whether he believed it changed depending on the setting. "No," Cohen responded. Blanche also accused Cohen of lying about a phone call he allegedly made to Keith Scheller, Donald Trump's former bodyguard, to speak with Trump. Cohen confirmed he called Scheller that evening. Blanche asked if Cohen testified the call was to speak with Trump about Stormy Daniels' deal. Cohen confirmed. In a text, Cohen asked Scheller who he can speak with about harassing calls from an alleged 14-year-old prankster. Scheller responded, "Call me." Cohen testified today that the October 24th phone call, which lasted for 1 minute and 36 seconds, was made to Scheller to talk to Trump. Blanche asked if the testimony on Tuesday was a lie because Cohen said then that he called to speak with Trump. Cohen said part of it was a lie. The 14-year-old part wasn't true. But I know Keith was with Trump. Blanchard again accused Cohen of lying and insisted he never spoke with Trump that day. Cohen responded, I always ran everything by my boss immediately. That was a lie. You did not talk to President Trump, Blanchard said. I'm not certain that's accurate, Cohen responded. I'll repeat that. I'm not certain that's accurate, Cohen responded. You see, that's the problem, friends, with people who tell lies all the time. What comes out of their mouth is maybe, possibly, I don't recall, could have been, or I'm not certain that's accurate. Cohen's testimony is expected to resume on Monday next week when the court reconvenes at 9:30 a.m. Blanchard said the defense expects to wrap up cross-examination on Monday as well. Prosecutor Susan Hoffman said she will have less than an hour of redirect. The defense anticipates reaching a decision on other witnesses soon and said it's reasonable that they could get on and off the stand on Monday. Now, let's dive a little deeper into that. And let me repeat that. Trump's lawyer said the defense anticipates reaching a decision on other witnesses soon. Well, that means they have today, tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday to make that decision on whether or not there's anybody worth bringing on into the courtroom and asking questions to. So, should Trump's lawyers call on any other witness to take the stand? Hell yes. And here is who they better call to take the stand Monday. Robert Costello. He is a former legal advisor to Michael Cohen. He went on America's Newsroom live, and he believes he should be called to testify that the Trump trial grand jury did not get all the information they needed, and that some jurors might have Trump derangement syndrome. Costello, who represented Cohen at the start of the federal investigation, has been released from his attorney-client confidential agreement, so he is able to discuss the case. He joined Bill Hammer and Dana Perino today to explain that Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg's team didn't want to see or hear extraterritorial information that he provided. Before Costello testified before the grand jury, he said he gave Bragg's assistant DAs the courtesy of about an hour and a half Zoom conference where he told them the exploratory material that he said was supposed to put before the grand jury. But when I appeared before the grand jury, they were asking me questions that, in my opinion, and I've been a federal prosecutor myself, I was a deputy chief of the criminal division in the Southern District of New York. Those questions that they were asking me were not going to allow me to give that information to the grand jury. I began to expand upon my answers, and the DA's office was trying to shut me down, saying that I had finished my answer. I told them, when I'm in the middle of answering a question, I'll decide when I finish my answer, and I asked them not to interrupt me again. But basically, they only put in a small cherry-picked group of emails. I presented them between 200 and 300 emails and text messages. Costello said they only put 2 or 3 of those emails into evidence. And when asked if they planned to put the rest of them into evidence, they told him no. When Costello asked why, he was told there were a legal issue with them. I simply said to the grand jurors, I said, you people should demand these documents. You should demand to see everything in chronological order so you can get a real view of Michael Cohen, what he's like, and in those days and moments in time, and then ask yourself this question: why are they keeping these documents from you? Well, after that, I left the grand jury. I had no idea that they put documents into evidence or what happened to it. But substantially, Donald Trump was indicted, and you'll see the fruits of that indictment in his trial, which is a trial about something that's not even a crime. Ultimately, he predicted that because the trial is taking place in New York, he believes some jurors might have Trump derangement syndrome, which will likely impact their decision. I understand that 87% of voters voted not for Donald Trump in the last election in New York. So you have to assume that there is Trump derangement syndrome out there, and that this jury will reflect of that. So that means there are some people in this jury who will vote to convict Donald Trump no matter what evidence is presented or not presented. All you need is one or two reasonable people to hold up or hang the jury and think ultimately, if I was guessing or betting on this, I bet that's probably going to be the results, he added. I just think they may actually just get so disgusted and acquit them. But, you know, it's hard to do that when 87% of the people vote for the other guy. Costello also detailed his April 2018 meeting with Cohen, admitted that he was suicidal as he saw enormous legal problems heading his way. They were so bad in his mind that he was willing to kill himself. And so I kept on going back and suggesting to him, listen, Michael, if you have something truthful on Donald Trump, now is the time to cooperate, Costello said. He kept on saying over and over again, 10 to 20 times, I swear to God, Bob, I don't have anything on Donald Trump. I even said to him, Michael, think about this. Isn't it easier to cooperate against Donald Trump if you have truthful information than it is to kill yourself? Well, the answer is obvious. That was his moment in time, Costello said. If he had something truthful to say, he said he was willing to cooperate, but he didn't take that. He kept on saying, I have nothing on Donald Trump. Then, when discussing the Stormy Daniels NDA, Costello said Cohen specifically told him that it was his idea, not Donald Trump's, to take care of the NDA because he had been contacted by a lawyer for Stormy Daniels who said she was going to claim that Donald Trump had sex with her. I didn't believe the allegations, Cohen said, but nevertheless, it would be embarrassing to his wife, Melania. That's Michael Cohen's words, he said. And so I decided to take care of this myself. Now, he took out a home equity loan of $130,000 and used that. And he did tell us that he got repaid later. Costello said he has not been subpoenaed, and whether he will be called to testify hasn't been decided yet, and is probably dependent upon what happens in court today. Of course, that's over with now. But Costello said he believes he should be called. Well, he better be. He is the proof that Michael Cohen is a pathological liar, which we all know, and that DA Michael Braggs is intentionally withholding evidence that proves Donald Trump is innocent, and that this made-up charges should never have been brought to court to start with. Two-tier justice system, my friends. Speaking of Stormy Daniels, her husband, fellow adult film star Barrett Blade. And I guess if you're a porn star, your chances of having a normal relationship with a decent human being is slim to none, so you have to marry another porn star. Said the couple will likely move out of the U.S. if former President Donald Trump is not found guilty in this New York versus Trump case. If Trump is found not guilty, I don't think it gets better for her, you know. I think if it's not guilty, we got to decide what to do. Good chance we'll probably vacate this country, Blade said Tuesday on CNN. Prosecutors say Daniels was paid $130,000 to keep quiet about her claims of an alleged extramarital sexual encounter with Trump, which he has long denied. Trump has pleaded not guilty in the case. It revolves around the alleged falsification of business records related to the payment. If he is found guilty, then she's still going to have to deal with all the hate, Blade said during the interview with Aaron Burnett, noting Trump supporters would insist she's the reason why he was convicted. I don't see it as a win situation either way, Blade said. And just for a second, Mr. Blade, if you by chance happen to ever watch this video, it ain't got shit to do with Stormy Daniels. It's about Trump derangement syndrome. The case has been proven time and time again that the witnesses that the DA brought forward are liars, to include the one you're married to, and Trump's former attorney, and DA Braggs needs to go to prison for bringing this forward. We would like to get on with our lives. She wants to move past this. Daniels took the stand last week and gave a highly detailed account of allegedly having sex with Trump at a Lake Tahoe hotel in 2006. Daniels has described the trial media reports as talking fast, making jokes, and often going beyond directly answering questions she was asked. Judge Juan Merchan at one point told prosecutors their witness was going into unnecessary detail. Many celebrities have threatened to leave the country over Trump, although A-listers such as Chelsea Handler, Snoop Dogg, Miley Cyrus, Samuel L. Jackson, Barbara Streisand, and Bryan Cranston never followed through. The View co-host Whoopi Goldberg recently said she was not going anywhere after Trump shared a social media post mocking her past remarks about fleeing the country if he won back in 2016. Let me stop for just a second and give you all some updates on my health, which I meant to do in the beginning of this show, but I was feeling good at that moment. And right now, all of a sudden, it's bothering me where these stitches are and reminded me that I got good news today, that the biopsy came back. And yes, it was skin cancer, as we thought, but it is benign, not malignant. So therefore, I'm good to go. They cut that chunk out. Now, obviously, you can see it's still bruised. The stitches are still there, but they're going to remove the stitches on Monday, and we will move on. So that was the good news that came out today. There's some other good news that came out today that I'm not going to quite share with you yet. Some really good news. But coming real soon, probably next week, I will fill you all in on what is happening there. And it's really cool. I'll just leave it at that. The White House has asserted executive privilege over audio and video recordings related to special counsel Robert Hur's interview with Joe Biden and his handling of classified documents. Who saw that coming? I write to inform you that the president has asserted executive privilege over the requested audio recordings and is making a protective assertion of privilege over any remaining materials responsive to the subpoena that have not already been produced. Associate Attorney General Carlos Uriarte wrote in a letter today to Representatives Jim Jordan and James Comer, chairman of the Committee on the Judiciary Committee on Oversight and Accountability. It is a long-standing position of the executive branch held by administrations on both parties that an official who asserts the presidential claim of executive privilege cannot be prosecuted for criminal contempt of Congress. How interesting. The man who claimed he would be the most transparent president in our history. The man who, along with his administration, Democrats and liberals, all jumped on Trump for claiming executive privilege, now are doing the exact damn thing. You're all nothing but a bunch of hypocrites. I'll use the talking points of Joe Biden himself and 99% of every Democrat in Congress. If you have nothing to hide, then why would you claim executive privilege? That's your words, Joe Biden. The American people see right through this continued cover-up of Joe Biden's classified document investigation. Hur led the investigation into Biden's handling of classified documents following his departure as vice president under the Obama administration, which makes it even worse because only a president can declassify documents, as Trump claims he did in the documents he had at his house, guarded by Secret Service. But a vice president can't do that, and he took those documents anyhow, and also when he was a member of Congress. Hur announced in February that he would not recommend criminal charges against Biden for possessing classified material after his vice presidency, citing that Biden is a sympathetic, well-meaning, elderly man with a poor memory. Based on our direct interactions with and observance of him, he is someone from whom many jurors will want to identify reasonable doubt. It would be difficult to convince a jury that they should convict him, by then a former president well into his 80s, of a serious felony that requires a mental state of willfulness, Hur wrote in the report. The findings sparked widespread outrage that Biden was effectively deemed too mentally impaired to be in charge or to be charged with a crime, but could serve as president. Trump has meanwhile slammed the charge, as a reflection of a sick and corrupt two-tier justice system in our country. Biden met with her for about 5 hours last year when he was grilled about his handling of the classified documents. The executive privilege, according to the letter, also includes interviews between Biden and his ghostwriter, Mark Zenzer, who was writing a book about him. That's why he was at his house. This way, we can hear Joe say what he's denying saying. And that is that he was fully aware he had classified documents. And he said so to the ghostwriter. And that he even showed the ghostwriter those documents. And who is guiding Joe Biden down this path? Attorney General Merrick Garland, who asked Biden to block the release of the recordings and transcripts. Great job, Attorney General of the United States, who is now guilty of a federal crime to cover up information on classified documents for the sole purpose of protecting Joe Biden. You, sir, are a disgrace to law enforcement and America. A.G. Garland said, the audio recordings of your interview with Mr. Zarsitz, the ghostwriter interview, fall within the scope of executive privilege. Production of those recordings to the committee would raise an unexpected risk of undermining the department's ability to conduct similar high-profile criminal investigations In particular, investigations where the voluntary cooperation of White House officials is exceedingly important, Garland wrote to Biden in a letter obtained by Fox News. White House counsel Ed Sickel also wrote to Jordan Comer today, saying that House Republicans would chop up the recordings for partisan political purposes. The absence of a legitimate need for the audio recordings lays bare your likely goal to chop them up, distort them, and use them for partisan political purposes, White House counsel Ed Sickel wrote in a letter to Republican leaders this morning revealing Biden's decision. Determining such sensitive and controversial protected law enforcement material from the executive branch because you want to manipulate them for potential political gain is inappropriate. So here's a suggestion, sir. You guys release the audio yourself and the written statements yourself. You release it. Then you can't blame Republicans for just releasing bits and pieces of it. Release the whole damn thing from start to finish and let the American people decide. But you will never do that. And the whole reason why the Attorney General told Biden to go for executive privilege is because you know how damning it is to Joe Biden. Because he knew all along that he took classified documents as a congressman, when he was a senator, and when he was vice president of the United States. He knew it. And it was proven by the ghostwriter who was shown those documents. If all of it is released by the White House for the American people to read and hear, then how could we, the people, come away with thinking it was a political hack job by Republicans? Comer told Fox News Digital Thursday today, there's a 5-alarm fire right now at the White House over this matter. You bet your ass there is. Clearly, President Biden and his advisors fear releasing the audio recordings of his interview because it will affirm to the American people that President Biden's mental state is in decline and he's not capable of running to be president of the United States anymore. The Oversight Committee requires these recordings as part of our investigation of President Biden's mishandling of classified documents, Comer said. The White House is exerting executive privilege over the recordings, but it has already waived privilege by releasing the transcript of the interview, which tells me there's way more in the recordings than what they released in the transcript. Today's Hail Mary from the White House changes nothing for our committee. The House Oversight Committee will move forward with this markup of a resolution and report recommending to the House of Representatives that Attorney General Garland be held in contempt of Congress for defying a lawful subpoena. Trump campaign spokesman Steve Truman added in comment provided to Fox that Biden administration has irreparably paralyzed executive privilege. Crooked Joe Biden and his feeble administration have polarized the key constitutional tenet of executive privilege, denying it to the political opponents while aggressively trying to use it to run political cover for Crooked Joe. The letter comes after the Heritage Foundation's oversight project, as well as Judiciary Watch and CNN, filed Freedom of Information Act requests seeking the release of the tapes. And the House Republicans unsuccessfully subpoenaed the recordings. The Department of Justice announced in April it would not abide by the subpoena from the House Republicans. While maintaining its cooperation with Congress, Biden's family investigation has been extraordinary. And if you believe that line of crap, I got some land to sell you in Lake Charles, Louisiana. It's in a no flood zone, yet it flooded. Garland has faced, or Garland was facing potentially being held in contempt of Congress for refusing to turn over documents in the past. Biden's order, however, protects Garland from being held in contempt, according to the Department of Justice. The House committee on Thursday, however, are still considering a contempt of Congress resolution against Garland. This morning, we get an 11-hour invocation of executive privilege, Jordan said. President Biden is asserting executive privilege for the same reason we need the audio recordings. They offer a unique perspective. The last minute denying does not change the fact that the Attorney General has not complied with our subpoena, Jordan added. All right. New York Democrat Congressman Jamel Bowman, who we've talked about recently on this show, a proud anti-American member of the far-left squad, recently defended a phrase viewed as anti-Semitic that calls for the extermination of Jews. Bowman, who is facing a tough primary challenge in New York's 16th congressional district, made the controversial comments about the phrase "from the river to the sea" during a debate against his opponent, Westchester County Executive George Latimer. "I know some do, others don't. I do not," Bowman said when asked about members of the debate audience whether he believed the phrase was considered hate speech. Lemire ripped Bowman's response, saying, "It is hate speech, and it's clear that from the river to the sea has meant specifically the eradication of the Jewish population from Israel." Bowman said earlier in the debate he does not believe in Israel's right to exist and supports a two-state solution. But his campaign has yet to respond to media requests for comments about his defense of the phrase that appears to run in contrast to his views. "From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free" as a rally call for terrorist groups and their sympathizers, according to the American Jewish Committee, a view echoed by all Jewish advocate groups. Even as the far-left Anti-Defamation League described the phrase as anti-Semitic slogan, commonly featured in anti-Israel campaigns and chanted at demonstrations. Nathan Sells, a former counterterrorism official, said that when pro-Palestinian protesters chant "Palestine from the river to the sea," they're calling for the extermination of Jews and the Jewish state. "They think that Israel shouldn't exist at all," Sells said. "This is extreme. It's rhetoric that goes above and beyond. And our First Amendment means we have to tolerate this kind of speech. But the antidote of that kind of inherent speech is more speech. We all need to expose what these Hamas sympathizers are really all about." Bowman has been a staunch critic of Israel, especially since the start of his ongoing war with Hamas in Gaza. Earlier this month, he attended a fundraiser hosted by an Islamic leader who said he was happy to see the October 7th attack on Hamas on Israeli citizens. Bowman didn't seem to mind the presence of Nahad Awad, a controversial anti-Semitic figure who serves as the National Executive Director and co-founder of the Council on American Islamic Relations at the May 1st fundraiser in Fairfax, Virginia. Awad faced sharp scrutiny last year after expressing his pleasure with the Hamas attack, the result of the death of nearly 1,200 Israelis, including women and babies, and claiming Israel does not have the right to self-defense. I'm so sick of these anti-American, anti-Israel bigots that are in our Congress. That's the craziest thing about it. Texas Governor Greg Abbott today issued a full pardon for former U.S. Army Sergeant convicted of murder in the shooting death of an armed protester during a 2020 Black Lives Matter march, which we covered right here on this show. The move by Abbott came minutes after a unanimous recommendation by the Texas Board of Pardons and Paroles that Daniel Perry be pardoned and have his firearm rights restored. Under Texas law, the governor cannot issue a pardon without a recommendation from the board. The Texas Board of Pardons and Paroles conducted an exhaustive review of U.S. Army Sergeant Daniel Perry's personal history and the facts surrounding the July 20th incident, and recommended a full pardon and restoring full civil rights of citizenship to include his Second Amendment rights. Among the thousands of files reviewed by the board, they considered information provided by the Travis County District Attorney, the full investigative report on Daniel Perry, plus a review of all the testimony provided at trial. Texas has one of the strongest stand-your-ground laws of self-defense that cannot be nullified by a jury or a progressive district attorney. I thank the board for its thorough investigation, and I approve their pardon recommendation, Governor Abbott said. So, basically what happened, if you may remember, you may not, I'm just going to give you a quick brief over it. This Army soldier, who was a staff sergeant, he is, if I remember right, was after work, was working as like a delivery driver to make some extra money. He drives up to this protest that's happening, Black Lives Matter protest. He's a white guy, by the way. And one of the people in the Black Lives Matter protest, also a white guy, has an AK-47. And as this Army sergeant's blowing his horn and yelling out the window, "Move the fuck out of the way and let me through," this guy points the AK-47 at him, and he returns fire with his weapon and kills him. Self-defense. But when it went to trial, they made sure that they did not give a shit about stand your ground laws, and that they would overrule stand your ground laws and put him away for life in prison, which is what they did. And when this whole thing was happening, I told you then, the governor has to pardon this kid. Anyone in their right mind that has a weapon on them, a gun, would, in self-defense, fire back if somebody pointed one at them. I mean, that's just a fucking no-brainer. Moving on. Several House Democrats defied the White House to support a bill rebuking President Biden from withholding offensive aid from Israel today. The Israel Security Assistance Support Act would condemn the president's posture on Israel's Gaza invasion, while compelling the Biden administration to expedite sending weapons shipments already approved by Congress. It passed in a 224 to 187 vote, with 16 Democrats joining the 208 Republicans in advancing the bill. Democrats who supported it included Representative Tom Schulze, New York; Darren Soto, Florida; Richie Torres, New York; Maria Glutzkamp Prezes, Washington; and Henry Kohler, Texas, among others. 3 Republicans also voted against the bill, and I found this shocking. Representative Warren Davidson of Ohio, Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia, and Thomas Massey of Kentucky. Are you kidding me? President Biden's decision to withhold weapons, approved by himself, the chairman and the ranking members, and approved by Congress defy congressional intent and its tenement of any arms embargo, House Foreign Affairs Chairman Michael McCall of Texas said during the debate for the bill. Red lines were meant for our enemies. Red lines are not meant for our allies and our friends. But that's precisely what this administration is doing to Israel. The bill would also withhold funding from the Secretary of Defense, Secretary of State, and the National Security Council if there was any delay in this weapons shipment. House Democrats have made it clear that they'd rather stand in solidarity with terrorists than support our strongest ally in the Middle East. House Majority Whip Tom Emmer of Minnesota, the number 3 House Republican leader, told Fox News Digital. But opponents of the bill argued that it could set a dangerous precedent for restricting a president's ability to conduct foreign policy. It comes after President Biden faced bipartisan backlash from pro-Israel lawmakers for pausing a bomb shipment from Israel over fears it could be used in Rafah, as well as warning Israel that the U.S. would not send offensive weapons if they were used on population centers in southern Gaza Strip, even though that's where the terrorists are hiding, in churches and schools and hospitals, and even though Israel is doing everything in their power to save innocent lives by telling them in text messages, emails, bullhorns, flying and dropping pamphlets over it, get out of these areas because we're going to blow the shit out of them, and giving them time to leave. However, Thursday's vote happened days after Biden announced he was moving forward with a $1 billion weapons shipment to Israel, according to reports. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer has already said he does not plan to take up the bill, citing the White House threat to veto the measure if it hit Biden's desk. The bill is a misguided reaction to deliberate distortion of the administration's approach to Israel. The president has been clear. We will always ensure Israel has what it needs to defend itself, the White House said earlier this week. You know, it's one thing to say shit like this, but do you people actually think that we, the people, are so freaking stupid that we don't see your actions? We hear what you're saying, and what you say and what you do are 2 different things. I understand that some of your voters are have brains full of freaking pea gravel, but the rest of us don't. We have the internet and the news 24 hours a day. We can hear what you're saying, and we can also hear what you're doing and see what you're doing. It's like you're living in another fucking dimension, going about your day-to-day lives, saying what great shit you're doing, but then not doing it. Furthermore, this bill, if enacted, could lead to spiraling unintended consequences, prohibiting the United States from adjusting our security assistant posture with respect to Israel in any way, including to address unanticipated or emergent needs. Even if Israel and the United States agree that military needs have changed and supplies could change accordingly. House Democrat leaders were also actively encouraging their caucus to vote against the bill. Israel has proven to be a politically fraught topic for the Democrat Party, with a growing number of lawmakers voicing concern about Israel's invasion of Gaza in response to the Hamas October 7th terrorist attack. It has revealed fractures between more moderate and traditional Democrats' views on the U.S.-Israel relationship and progressives who are increasingly critical of those close ties. How would you like Joe Biden if, well, look, using you as an example is, I'm not even going to use Joe Biden as an example because You can't. He's mentally unfit. We all know that. We see that. So let's just say whoever the next Democrat president happens to be one day down the line, let's hope it's fucking after I'm dead and gone. But when the next Democrat president takes office, and it will happen, if America's attacked again, like what happened on 9/11, let's say, and then you find out who they are and you go on a full-scale blown attack to get them back, and other countries jump in to include people in your own party condemning you for conducting that war and wanting you to do things different, what would you say? This is the same shit that happened with the withdrawal from Afghanistan. It's the same shit that happened with the withdrawal from Vietnam. Instead of allowing the military boots on the ground, the officers and the NCOs, to conduct the war, no. Those people in suits up in Washington, D.C., the politicians, told them how to conduct the war. And hundreds of thousands of American soldiers, airmen, sailors, Marines, lost their lives because of the way the combat was conducted. And that is wrong. The only way you can defeat evil is you let those whose job is to defeat evil, that train to defeat evil, that's their entire world. That's what your job is in the military. I mean, yeah, there's all kinds of other happy, fun shit, but the bottom line is it's to go to war and defeat evil. And then you're going to cut them off at the knees and not allow them to do it the way they see best to do it. The ones that are trained to do it. The ones that have the knowledge to do it. You're going to have a bunch of bureaucratic bitches in Washington, D.C. wearing suits and ties telling you how to do it. And that's what this administration is doing to Israel. Joe Biden doesn't have Israel's back. This administration doesn't have Israel's back. This administration is listening to Ali Omar, Rashid Tlaib, AOC, Barman, Anita Presley, and all these anti-Israel protesters on college campuses because they think somehow that if they appease them, they will win in November. Well, I got news for you. If you haven't already heard, those conducting these protests said, too late. So all you're doing is seeing to it that more Israeli soldiers are going to die and more Israelis are going to die. And the American citizens that are being held captive as POWs by Hamas are probably going to die. And the blood is on your hands. Folks, you have many places to be tonight. You chose to be here with me, and for that, I'm forever grateful. Thank you very, very much. If you haven't already done so, please like this show. Hit the little thumbs up button. Also, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that. In the comments of all my videos and all my shows, you can see the other place you can follow me on social media. Follow me. I'll follow you back. That's how we do this. That's how we spread the word. Let everybody know what's going on in this world with truthful information, straight to the point, and not politically correct. I, for one, believe that political correctness is one of the biggest downfalls of the United States of America. And I'll be damned if you're going to cut my tongue out. If you don't like what I have to say, turn the freaking channel, for crying out loud. You don't have to watch me, just like you don't have to read Donald Trump's tweets or listen to what he has to say. If you think he's a mean man, tune him out. Anyway, whatever you're doing this weekend, please be safe. Watch your six. We're in trying times right now. There's a lot of things happening across this globe that are just not good. And a lot of bad people have come across our southern border. And it's not if, it's when. There will be another 9/11 type attack right here on U.S. soil. And sadly, many people are going to die. Thanks to Joe Biden and his administration for allowing them to come across. As always, please say a prayer for our men and women serving the United States military, our veterans, our law enforcement officers, our first responders, their families, our angel families, our blue and gold star families in our country. May God bless the United States of America. May God bless each and every one of you. Be safe this weekend. Have a wonderful weekend. And I'll see you back here next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Central. Good night, everyone.